because I will give you an example. Each fortnight, our salaries will run us about nearly $36,000. That's it, each fortnight. You don't have a production coming in, and it's a business that you're running.
Right.
How are you going to continue to pay your labor when you're not using that? So that is where, you have your NIS, you have all your taxes, everything still to continue paying. So there's a cost to all of that. And while we were waiting to increase our production, to see how things are behaving, because remember, our estate was not just at I have a cocoa estate with 2 acres of cocoa, and whatever happens, happens. This was a business that we were running.
Yeah.
Our game plan was to be international. So your standards have to be correct. And your structure must be in place. And we could not continue with that plan unless we get proper funding coming in at that point in time. So that was one of the hiccups. So we started back picking, and by that time, we were carrying something between 27 to 40 workers at a time, including office staff. Would have been an extra from 5 to 6. That was not counting in the drivers either. We had about 3 drivers. So with that now, I'll just jolt in my memory a little bit what transpired within that time. So within that period of time, my other partner had some issues that he had to deal with health and everything else like that. So that even put a bigger strain on me on a personal note. And we're still fighting, and we just kept everything else going along. And putting back into the community, what we did, we were the largest employers on a continuous basis in the area of Nestor, which is in Tamana itself. So you will average about 60 to 70 workers on different various crops. Some, the short crops. You are those who handle the cocoa. We also started a program with dealing with mutton. So we had a lot of sheep which we brought in.
Okay.
So we had all of those programs that we were going, and we had different people seeing about it. We had staffing on the 24-hour, actually on site also at that point in time. And we could not sustain it because remember, we were still at the development stage. Although the only thing that we had at the production stage was the cocoa, but everything else was at the development stage. And then, of course, with the climate change, we started from 2015, 2014, even put a serious hamper because one of our biggest export market was in Germany. So we never did anything locally at the time.
Okay.
As sales. And then you had other smaller buyers, which we thought that basically that was for the local use, because one of our things was that the smaller farmers, with the idea of creating a cooperative that where we would have been able to take your abandoned estate. You're the owner of the estate, you're the farmer, but you don't have the labor force, you don't have the money to maintain your fields. We would have maintained your fields, we'd have taken your product, pay you for your product, and still you get a royalty from your product at the end of each term. So we would plan to do it on a quarterly basis with that. And that would have then been able to give us a very larger production that which we would have then been able to trade the cocoa, because we would have had the the quantity and the quality, because it would have been branded Tamana Fine Cocoa.
Right.
And that would have given us, so personally, um, between my partner, because he bought a couple of estates also. So together with what I had and what he got, would have been roughly close to about 1,000 acres between both of us.
Wow.
Right. So the other problem was that we did not have enough labor to work that 1,000 acres, because let's say for 500 acres, estimate you will need roughly close to about 60 people to do that with all the proper mechanization mechanisms on mechanization to get your product in, to being able to pick it up, to break the pods. So we were actually developing tools. Being a mechanical engineer and civil engineer myself, started coming up with different concepts. Because your land is undulating, so you use your cocoa knife, you cut your cocoa off the tree. It falls to the ground, but also it rolls. So it will roll down into one of the drainage systems. You have to go to recover that. So the same man who's actually picking the cocoa, he has to now leave that tree and go pick up all the pods on the ground into a bag, and then you put it into one central spot. So when you're looking at your time management and how fast you can get your trees down into where it needs to be, it started turning into then you can follow where that management and design of being able to get your yield, get your production, and to manage costs um, would have been difficult. So
Yeah.
we then now started creating a area of where we use something called Sarah netting around the tree that which he's going to be picking. So each person carries his own backpack
Okay.
with his rod and everything like that. So when he started to stick the cocoa off the tree without damaging the bark, it falls into netting, and so therefore his gathering time is less. And then we started actually looking at purchasing trikes to run into that terrain and be able to pick up, and then they bring it down. So you will have about two people that's picking up the bags, that's moving with them one time.
Yeah.
That's right. And that's how it was setting up to be. But of course, these things cost money.
Of course.
It will cost money for the initial stage, but after that, it's just gravy after that.
Right.
And that's where we work. But please bear in mind that one of our biggest hiccups was from the climate change, and then we went into COVID. I'm getting back to the community. The major plan was that we were going to set up a school and a housing area, because you're looking at an area where they walk a very fine line to poverty and to be able to sustain. It's a very fine line in those type of areas.
Okay.
And they get by because they live off the land.
Yes.
So some may not have been afforded the opportunity to get a proper schooling. We then started looking at the demographics of the people that we have there, what is made, what the communities are made up of, and what is needed. So what we tried to do was to tap into what is needed. For instance, I'll use a very simple example. I am gifted in just cutting a tree down or whatever the case is. I can do